I am Jessica Sonneborn from The Haunting of Alice D. You are watching The 13th Wolfman. Oh!
Hey everybody, I'm the 13th Wolfman. You know who I have with me today? I have Jessica Sonneborn. I hope I said that right.
You did.
All right, so she's from Bloody Bloody Bible Camp, Alpha House, and of course the Haunting of Alice D. And she's also done a Brian Troxel film, One Night of Fear.
Oh, that was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
That's fun.
Welcome to Sit Down, Jessica.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Oh, thanks for coming on. Like I was telling you earlier, I had watched Alice D earlier today, and I love this movie.
Thank you.
This was well thought out. It was a well structured, thought out, I guess, supernatural movie. Is what you'd call it, you know. But I have to. I mean, you've written other scripts. You've done you've done Lure and Money Shot.
Mm-hmm.
This one just seemed a little more special. No, it really did. I mean, where did the idea for the haunted brothel come from?
Where did it come? My twisted head. I don't know. Where did it come from? I wanted to do a Cabin in the Woods movie because, Cabin in the Woods movies are lower budget or can be lower budget. You get people to one location and you do it. And I had that idea, like, what do you do with the limited budget? I want to get my characters in one place. So I thought, what hasn't been done, and I'm sure it's been done because everything's been done. But I personally couldn't think of a movie that took place in a haunted brothel, in a place where prostitutes were the ghosts. So that's kind of where it came from, I think.
Well, I remember the movie Mustang Sally's House of Horror, but I don't think that was a haunted one.
Okay.
I think that was just a revenge film.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of horror movies that have prostitutes and a lot of movies that have prostitutes, but I just couldn't think of, making, and, I just really had this idea for this really great, I'm from New England, and a lot of the old Victorian houses have this character of their own where, when you think of a haunted house, it's like it's in New England in these big old creepy houses. And so I thought, if we could find a place that would just be this beautiful old house that also used to be this beautiful brothel, we could go from there.
And I mean, the location, since we're talking about it, the brothel, it's this beautiful, it's got a Gothic look to it. Nice big house. Did you know a friend or something? Or you used to say to a friend, do you know where I can find a house? And then ask a friend or something? I mean.
Well, I did a dramatic web series in Newport, Rhode Island called Love Squared. Okay. And I had done that, and one of the characters, or two of the characters actually were involved in that. So the guy that played Michael and the guy that played Adam, they, Aaron Massey and Michael Reed were both in Rhode Island. And so when we were there, I think I just really was like, I would love to, we were all talking, like, we would love to shoot a horror movie around here because the house is there. So I just went online and started Googling, rental house, Newport, Rhode Island. And I found the beach mansion pretty quickly. Actually, it was I think the first house I found, and I was like, holy crap. This is beyond perfect. And, the owners were so excited and so nice and just amazing to let us film there. I mean, they were great. So we were able to, it was 9,000, or it is 9,000 square feet. So
everyone could live there. Yes.
So we had our cast and, crew stay there, aside from Kane and Al and Barry Radcliffe. Some people we, put up in hotels, but the bulk of everybody stayed there. And then I actually used the cinematographer from that same drama series because he was from Rhode Island and he had a whole camera package and, cranes and all sorts of stuff. So it was just kind of this perfect, found the location, had this amazing Eric Latek, the cinematographer, and some people as local hires because I'm from New England, and then brought some people from Los Angeles. So, but yeah, it's called Beach Mansion. You could actually, it's a rental house. You can rent it. for like reunions and
It's
stuff like
got,
that.
well, I mean, you say you're on a shoestring budget, but that thing had to cost a pretty penny.
Well, we shot in January, so it
Ah.
it wasn't cheap, but it was their off peak. Like
Yeah, it wasn't summertime.
yeah, it wasn't summertime. I know it's really expensive, or I don't know what really expensive is to people, but it's more expensive in the summer. And, they were really reasonable with us and they were really nice. And we had insurance, of course, to make sure if anything had happened. And because some of the houses, I mean, priceless. It's just, you can't, it's so old and the floors were just, I mean, it was just absolutely gorgeous. But I'm glad the first time I toured the house was right before we started filming. The week before, I went up the day after New Year's, and the house, the people that rented it for New Year's, trashed it. There was beer cans and garbage everywhere. So I toured the house when it was trashed. So I was like, okay, well, we're not going to be like that. I mean, we're not, and they were like, they're not getting their security deposit back. And I'm like, there's no way in hell we're returning the house in this type of condition, even with all our cast and crew drinking and partying and whatever. We were really respectful of the house.
So I'm guessing that since you rented it, you didn't need a set dresser.
No, I did all the set dressing. I kind of cyber stalked as much as I could the website of the house to figure out what they had that we could use, and which rooms and stuff. But we did do a walkthrough, and then I brought a couple things for set dressing. But it was all there. It was just unbelievable. And even we shoot a modern day apartment scene in the house because they had a couple rooms in the house that were just kind of plain rooms. And so we picked the most plain apartment looking room to shoot the Zeke and Krista, Josh Hammond and Eliza Swenson's bedroom scene or whatever. And then we did 2 exterior LA shots to give some establishing things elsewhere. And that was it. So
Okay.
yeah.
I mean, obviously you're an actress by nature and a writer, as it's shown in this movie. And yet, like I said before, your 2 previous films. But what made you want to get behind the camera of this movie?
It's interesting because I produced the first 2 movies, Lure and Money Shot, and this one I felt like, all right. So for the first 2 movies, I feel like I was kind of writing characters for myself. Lure, especially, that was my first feature, and I wanted to at that point in my life, I really wanted to focus on stunt work. So I wrote a movie where the character is kidnapped and forced to fight in an underground death ring in her underwear. So it really kind of wrote the script around that character. And the same thing, Money Shot, my partners and I, we all kind of wrote our own characters and created what we wanted to play. So for Alice D, I wrote it with no intention to play anything. I really just wrote it more for the story than anything else. And then it felt more my baby in a way, than any of the other projects, because I wasn't writing it to be, the character that Megan Hensley played, who's the lead. And I didn't write it to play Natasha, the character I played, or anything. I just figured I'll probably play something. I don't care what. But this one is more about the story for me. And, taking that leap. And I knew with the right cinematographer for my directorial debut that I would be in good shape. And Eric he's solid. So, and the crew and the cast and everybody. So that's really, it was just a story I wanted to tell more than anything. And everybody was like, why aren't you playing Jenny, the lead character? And I just said, cause this is something I want to tell. And for my feature film debut, I'm not gonna, first of all, the character doesn't fit me as well. And second of all, I'm not going to put myself in a position where I'm that distracted from what I want to do.
You did a great job playing Natasha.
Thank you.
You came off as kind of the tough bitch that she's supposed to be,
Yeah.
But I'm thinking, you spend what 95% of the time in your underwear in this movie?
Yeah, I mean, I directed the movie in.
I was gonna say, so you gotta, you're like, okay, let's set the scene, and
yeah, it was like, welcome to set. I'm yeah, I knew everybody. The only people I didn't know were Juan Reidinger, who played Joe, and Kane Hodder. But I wasn't in my underwear when Kane was there because I wasn't in any of the flashback stuff. But um, yeah, but yeah, I mean, people that know me, they know that I'm just this silly person. So it was, I don't think people were very shocked when I was walking around in my underwear directing. They were like, "Oh, there's Jess," like,
Yeah.
um, there she goes. And it's funny because I'm a tomboy. I don't wear makeup, and I don't desire really playing parts that are all glammed up. I would rather play something really gritty. But she was gritty. She just happened to be also done up like a, transvestite.
Yeah.
Okay, here is the trailer for The Haunting of Alice D.
Hey, it's Adam. Hello. Good, thanks for coming.
This place is sick.
They're gonna get lost in this place, man. It's huge.
So did Joe tell you about the house? Well, if he didn't tell you about the house, then he certainly didn't tell you about Alice.
It all started over 100 years ago. Two sisters were forced into prostitution. Their names were Alice and her sister Delilah. So what happened to her? You seen stuff?
This is haunted.
So
Joe deserved to get his ass beat.
he did. Well, Juan, it's just like Juan couldn't be nicer in real life.
Oh, I believe that. I'm just saying the character itself. You know whether or not they're doing a good job is when you're going, dude. I would
Yeah,
have beat his asshole. I mean, if I was friends with him for as long as those guys were, like Michael and I'm going, yeah, there would have been an ass beating somewhere along the way.
yeah. Everybody played it really well, and Juan is besides Kane, the only person that we didn't know him, and he came in and actually auditioned. And when the words started coming out of his mouth, I was like it was, to me, it was like the first word. I was like, that's him. He's amazing. I mean, I was prepared because when he actually submitted to us, and I started looking up his stuff because I come from a producing background, so I'm like, produced the crap out of this movie before we got to set. I was like, the house and the people and the psychology of who's going to get along and all that stuff before we got there. And so, I looked him up and I looked up everybody, and, he's a gem. He's amazing. He's on Narcos. He's really an amazing actor, I think. So he's going places.
Yeah, wow. So you said that you basically knew everyone before shooting. So I was going to ask, how well everyone knew one another because there are some very personal scenes in this movie, and it'd be completely weird if like some strangers you know.
Yeah, not everybody knew everybody knows each other now, obviously, and I think a lot of people stayed really good friends. But like I knew, I do a lot of indie movies, so like I met Megan Hensley on Rabbit Love, and I brought her in, and I met Julianne on Bloody Bloody Bible Camp. So of course she was coming in, and Sarah and Michael I've known forever. I met on Love Squared, but I've known them for a long time, and of course they, it was kind of like just putting these puzzle pieces together. And one of my partners is Christina Page, who plays Alice, and we produced it together, and so it was just kind of this piece of people that I knew, but everybody got along really well. But yeah, I don't think Julianne and Michael knew each other, and they had a lot of, stuff together. And Megan didn't know anybody, but she was supposed to be completely off, and uncomfortable. So it was kind of good that she didn't know anybody coming in and was thrown into that situation. But Juan and Aaron, Michael and Joe, they actually did know each other and they worked together beforehand. So, and Aaron is a great friend of mine, and so he vouched for Juan because I was like, I love this actor, but we're bringing people out, and what if he's a total dick? I don't want to work with jerks, and it's a lot of pressure and you're putting all this into it, and to have one bad apple. And so luckily Aaron knew him and was like, no, he's amazing, he's really nice. And I was like, okay, so it worked out.
That's very cool.
Yeah,
glad to hear it. Yeah, I sometimes see these movies and you go, I wonder how well they really got along with all that, with everything that was going on,
Yeah, no, everybody got along really well, and we even the girl that created all the wardrobe, Debbie, she was in Bloody Bloody Bible Camp. She played Jennifer in Bloody Bloody Bible Camp, the goth girl. Okay. So actually, yeah, there was several Bloody Bloody Bible Camp, because Chris Maltaro is the producer of Bloody Bloody Bible Camp, and he produced Alice, and then Debbie and Julianne were two girls that were in it. And yeah, so I like to do that. If I work with good people, I'm like, oh, putting you right here, and I'm not going to maybe use you on everything or the next one, but I will, it's like you want to use people that behave well and are awesome. And so.
I read a story somewhere that one of the actresses created most of the costumes from curtains.
Oh yeah, that was Debbie. So Debbie, who also played Jennifer in Bloody Bloody Bible Camp, the goth girl, right. She played Lex in Alice D. So she's the first kill. Her and Nick Apostolides get killed on the bed or in the room. And she was our last minute. We had somebody else doing wardrobe and it fell through, and then we had a month to create this 1895 wardrobe or 1885 wardrobe. And so I called Debbie because when we did Bloody Bloody Bible Camp, it was 80s stuff, and she put together all the 80s and the 70s wardrobe for that, because the wardrobe on that just wasn't really put together, and she just took over. So all that crazy great wardrobe Debbie did, and then so at the last minute she came in on Alice D, and her and I went to shopping, and she did a lot of Goodwill stuff, and yeah, it was drapes. It was drapes and curtains from the Goodwill, and suits that she bought from the Goodwill and cut up and then made it. She knew what the colors would look like for that time period. I mean, I'm such a tomboy. I'm so not into clothing or wardrobe or anything, but she was like, oh no, the colors have to be this way. And she sewed it all up until the last minute. She was putting all that stuff together. She's amazing. I mean,
that's incredible.
Yeah. So it was quite ambitious. And now, the next one we're working on, Psycho A Go-Go, is in the 60s, and I'm going to Chris, who's the same producer of Bloody Bloody and The Haunting of Alice D. I'm like, what are you doing with this period piece with the wardrobe? Because now everything but it makes it special, to have those little touches.
You got to get those fringe dresses in there. Those were popular back in the 60s, the little fringe dress.
All right, I'll tell him. Yeah.
Just saying.
I'm like, you can't just have people come with their own hair and makeup and wardrobe, like a lot of low budget horror movies do that. It's a different ballgame, but it does set you apart. And I'm glad we were able to do that, for Alice. It was cool.
Yeah. I see that at the end of this movie, there could be a setup for a sequel.
Yeah.
Would you, if there was a sequel, would you write the next chapter in the Book of Alice D, or would you let someone else do that and just direct it?
Oh, it depends. I mean, I definitely have more story to tell, but if somebody came in and I'm open. I'm such an easygoing person. I haven't thought about it. I'd love to write more if there was enough interest in it,
I think.
And anything can happen now because there's so many possible ghosts in the house.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think there's definitely there's a calling for a sequel to Alice D.
Oh, thank you. Thanks a lot.
I really do. I think this movie says a lot. I mean, it just came out in March. It's probably tracking really well, but
Thank you.
I
I
loved
hope
it.
so. It was fun. It's fun when something that you do that is so enjoyable comes out well. And it wasn't without its issues and its problems. And we had a little bit of a sound issue with the DVD. I don't know if you watched it on DVD or the download, but our DVD sound, there was somehow a mix-up with the surround sound with the 5.1. So some people are viewing the correct version if they're watching it on like iTunes or downloading it. But the DVD, I've talked to a lot of people that have watched it and they're like, I didn't notice there was a problem with the sound on the DVD. And I'm like, well, if you watch it on a computer, it's almost unviewable because to me, I know the movie, we spent so much time in post sound and it's like certain channels got turned off.
Huh.
And stuff got turned, like fuzz got turned on. That was definitely, I've done a lot of low budget movies, as I've said. I know that sound is one of the most difficult things, but I would not release a movie that had camera rubs and stuff like that. I know how to get that stuff fixed. But it's a little bit unfortunate, but whatever. People are enjoying it. People like it or they don't like it or whatever. And I just feel so grateful to have done such a fun movie and that there are people that really like it. So it's great.
It seems like a throwback to a very classic paranormal ghost story style movie. It's not all in your face. I mean, you do have some CGI in here, but there were a couple of things that were practical gags. Like I saw something slide across the table. Yes.
We actually have a lot of that in the movie that if you might not see it on the first view, there's a lot of things moving and glass being lifted up and things like that you don't have to see. But if you rewatch it, you might see. In a lot of scenes, we did a lot of practical stuff and just kind of, effing with people a little bit. It was just fun, because it's paranormal and it's also psychological. So we had a little bit more freedom to just kind of do stuff, and yeah, practical effects are the way to go if you can do it. And George Troster was our special effects guy and he's amazing. And I think he did a great job.
I can't stop saying how much I loved it. I did. I truly, honestly loved this movie. It takes a while to get going.
Yeah.
But I'm good with that. I mean, I'm like, okay, I'm having a good time. They're doing this, they're doing that. A little few scares here and there, but when the payoff comes at the end, it's there.
Yeah, I'm not trying to compare my movie to the Great Gatsby, but in the original Great Gatsby, there's like a 5-minute scene of just a master shot of the camera just panning over, and it goes on forever. People don't have patience anymore for people are like, where's the explosions and things happening and blood and guts, and I think if you get it, you get it. If you don't, it doesn't have to be for everybody. And I personally like suspense and kind of the slow build and getting into it. And if you're hearing it right, if it's the right sound, which is a little bit unfortunate if you're watching it on your computer on a DVD, but Carlos Vivas wrote the sound and the score, and there is a slow build with everything. It starts one way and then it's slowly building up tension the entire movie until this major climax, which happens pretty quickly, and it might leave some people with like, wait a second, like it just what? But I don't know. It does leave it open for things, and it's a super low budget movie, so we were trying to do something a little different. It's not. They can't all be the same formula.
No, they can't. I'm with you. I'm a horror fan from way back, so I get that. It's a great movie. I think people should run out and check it out. Whether it's iTunes or DVD or whatever, just go out, check out, The Haunting of Alice D.
Thank you. Thanks.
I want to thank you for coming on. Sit down. Kind of ran a little bit over, but if people want to find you, where can they find you online?
Well, I'm on Twitter At Jess Sonneborn. And the movie is also on Twitter at Alice D Movie. Because it was originally called Alice D and not The Haunting of Alice D. It was the distributor changed the title, so it's at Alice D Movie. And I'm also on Facebook, and I have a website, jessicasonneborn.com.
Okay. And for that, I'm the 13th Wolfman, and I'm on the prowl.